Before I start this video, I'd like to apologize for not posting proper content for a long time. The primary reason for this is I, for whatever reason, was unable to come up with any video ideas that I liked. So here's finally a full scripted and voiced video. Hi, Viash here. If you've ever met me on Discord, you'll know I make source models tintable for free and take requests. However, some people appear to be wondering how I do that. So in this video, I would like to address this question. So strap in, open up your Hammer editor and get comfy while I explain the process of editing a model the exact way I sometimes do for fun. Let's start off with extracting the model's files. For this you will need to open your game's primary content folder, in my case Portal 2, or whatever other folder your model files are in, such as but not limited to Update, CSGO, HL2_episodic, or Portal 2_DLC3. Most official models are usually in VPK, so I recommend that you download GCFscape for the next part. If you need, you can pause the video here, install it, and then continue watching. Open GCFscape and open the primary VPK. Basically, the source VPK format is designed with splitting in mind, so that large packages get split and broken up into many small fragments, each usually containing 1 or 2 files. Such sective VPKs will not load in GCFscape due to their lack of directory information, so you need to open the VPK whose file name ends with _dir. Once you got that figured out, it's time to locate the model's files. The first step to doing that is grabbing the model's file name from Hammer. That's the string that goes something like model/props_office/wall_column_128.mdl. Get just the path to the folder the model is in. To do this, split the path to every slash and get everything except the last component, which is the file name. For model/props_office/wall_column_128.mdl, it would be model/props_office, and navigate there in GCFscape or your file explorer app as the model is not in the VPK. Then extract every file with the model's base file name minus the extension. That means for model/props_office/tintable_cardboardbox_c_1970.mdl, you would need to extract tintable_cardboardbox_c_1970.vtx, vvd, and phy. To know which files you need, try looking for any of the following extensions: vtx, vvd, mdl, any for animated models, and phy for models with collision or prop data. Once you get that done, you'll have to locate the model's textures. They are usually located in the exact same path as the model itself, except under the materials folder. So model/editor/axis_helper.mdl would have its materials in materials/model/editor. The materials themselves will usually have the same file name as the model's MDL file, except with a different extension. However, sometimes this is not true. That brings us to probably the second least used source program, behind FacePoser of course, the Half-Life Model Viewer, or HLMV. To find the materials of a model using HLMV, open your model in the program and go to the Model tab. There you'll find a bit of text that says Select to Show Shader, and right under it you'll find a list of the model's materials. Extract all of the mentioned VMTs. The VMT files aren't the entire texture though, so you'll need to also find all the VTFs you need. Basically for this you'll need to open every VMT and extract every VTF mentioned there. Such mentions will usually begin with the name of a folder in materials, for example tools/tools black. Also keep in mind that most of the time the file names of VTFs are either the exact same or have a significant common portion of the VMT's file name. This isn't always true though. Another way of finding the VMTs is by entering the r_drawModelStatsOverlay1 command in the console on an existing compiled map of the model. This command is super useful in finding model file names, but it also lists the VMTs of each model. Remember to turn this off later though, as this command can cause performance flaws. After finding the texture file names, you obviously need to extract them. I recommend keeping the original folder structure. So now that you've got the model files, it's time to edit the model. For this you'll need a program called Crowbar, link in the description. Open the folder where you extracted the model's files and open the MDL and Crowbar. Select your game and the target path and click Decompile. If it logs no errors, the decomp went well and the model's files are ready for tinkering. Which brings us to the fun part, modifying the model's data. To start off, open the QC file in the text or code editor of your choice and find the $CD materials that doesn't have empty double quotes following it. It'll probably have something like model/props_office after it. Change it to point to a custom folder like model/tintable/props_office for example. Then change the model file name. It will be something like props_office/wall_column_128.mdl. You can add the word tintable to it, or any other way of differentiating it from the vanilla model. Then open the VTF of the material. Most models will only have one material. If you're using VTF Edit or VTF Edit Reloaded, both are linked in the description, export the texture into TGA or PNG and open it in any editor that supports transparency. Otherwise, if you have a VTF plugin for your image editor of choice, you can open and edit it directly. Next, you'll need masking tape to... No, I'm just kidding. You'll need to select the parts you'd like to be tintable, desaturate them completely, set the saturation slider to negative 100%, and invert the alpha. Then reset the selection and invert the alpha again, this time on the entire image. Save this as a VTF in the folder you put after the $CD materials. I would recommend using the DXT5 format, and if using Paint.net, also selecting the generic template. Now you'll need to create the VMT. This is a little difficult since not all the flags are compatible with tinting, so you'll have to look carefully for such incompatible flags in the original VMT. First, you'll need to open the original model's VMT and search for any flags with foam, base alpha, or sulfilum in their name. If you can't find any, good! That means the material is compatible with tinting. Copy it over to your $CD materials folder and change all the texture paths in it. Lines that have a flag that has mask or texture in its name or has models in the value part to now point to your edited VTF. If there were any other VTFs, such as normal maps or detail textures, make sure to copy them over to your $CD materials folder as well. After all of this VTF manipulation, you'll need to add $blend tint by base alpha 1 to the VMT on an empty line between the brackets. You can also add a new line if there aren't any empty ones. Basically what this parameter does is it multiplies tinting for every pixel base alpha divided by 255. The final modification step is compiling the edited model. For this, open the QC file in Crowbar, select your game, whatever settings you want, and click compile. If it logs no errors, then everything went well and the model will likely work. So now that the model is done, you'll need to test it. By default, Crowbar places the compiled models in your game's model folder, which is good. There are several ways to test the model, such as opening or relaunching Hammer or opening/refreshing it in HLMV. To test if it's tintable, you will need to use Hammer though. If the tintable parts are too dark or feel too insensitive to the tint color, try brightening the tintable parts. However, keep in mind that some models should have a limit to tinting. For example, tintable glass for a window probably shouldn't be super tintable. Remember, the closer a pixel's alpha is to 255, the brighter it is tinted. The key to fine-tuning these settings is experimenting, so if you want to put in the time and effort, feel free to make your model only slightly sensitive to tinting. Nobody wants an aggressively red pencil sharpener. The final step is packaging your model. For this, you'll first need to create an empty zip archive. Create two folders in it, models and materials. Then recreate the directory structure you have in your game's assets folder. For example, if the model's textures are in material/model/tintable/props_office and the model itself is in model/props_office, you'll need to create all the folders to props_office in materials and models. Then move all of your model's files in their respective folders. Finally, if you want, feel free to share this model with me. In fact, I'd really appreciate this, as my collection of tintable props is quite small. Also, I would really appreciate it if you credited me or at least mentioned me in the descriptions of your maps that use this model. Something like Model X made tintable using Electrovoyage's tutorial. If you share this model with me, it would also be nice if you link to my website at https://google.com/view/electrovoyagecorner/tintable model/downloads. And although all of this stuff isn't necessary, it would be really nice. Well, that's about it for this tutorial. If you found any of this information useful, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel to see more content like this in the future. It would also be nice if we could reach at least 30 subscribers by August this year, so let's see if we can do it. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video.